What up? What up? What up? I hope everybody's having a great start to their day. Uh, we are going to go ahead and get started because today I don't have a lot of time. I actually have to get to a meeting, but I wanted to make sure that I gave you this insight because it's actually a great reflection of how the next year is going to look. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but I tend to start to think about the new year like really in October. A little bit of forward facing. And there have been quite a few things that I've been stating for probably about a decade now, whether that is trying something on, see how it fits you, seeing yourself to be yourself. And now I've been really thinking about how you can really stay true to your personal style and what actually represents you. We'll talk about why that's a issue briefly first, but also how you really can develop your style. And it's as simple as sticking to your script. So we'll get to that in a second. Before we do, what's up to everybody who is joining? Taylor Moan, what's going on? Thank you for joining. With the Romy, Success and Style, Comedic, Comedian King, what's going on? Michael Vance, what's going on? And to all my folks on YouTube, unfortunately, will not show me who my viewers are on YouTube, as well as Facebook. Shout outs to y'all. And remember, this is a conversation, not a lecture. It can be a lecture, but if you want to voice your opinion or your perspective, by all means, put it in the chat and we will address it when we need to. So, first and foremost, thank you for stepping into a dressing room. And I wanted to talk about why I take a bit of a bit of hesitancy or issue with a lot of like what's been going on, especially in the style space for probably the last 4 or 5 years. And why I've always said like try this on, see how it fits you, is because a lot of guys think that style is supposed to be one dimensional. They think that style is supposed to have a certain aspect of rules, when I think that there should just be standards in place, and there should be elements of understanding, right? When you're creating your own personal look. I've had conversations with homies who will tell me like from a tailoring standpoint, this is the way that something is supposed to be, only for it to be contradicted by somebody else who may be more experienced or more well versed in other situations when it comes to sartorialism or when it comes to a certain style type. It may not work over here, but it works very well over here. And so, a lot of these guys right now are telling you these are the 5 things that every guy needs. And this has been like an issue for me probably for about 4 years, right? They're telling you these are the 5 things that every guy needs. And then you get it and you're like, well, where am I going to use this? What am I going to use this for? And it's because they haven't really explored the why behind what you're getting. So if you're a outdoors guy, right, and you're a person who likes to be outdoors 95% of the time, it doesn't make sense for you to get a whole lot of formally dress wear. But you can still have some sartorial elements, whether it's a hiking jacket, a hunting jacket, whether it is a vest, whether it is a barber, chore type of coat. There's all these other different types of things that can appeal to you, but you can't define that by saying this is something that every guy needs. Instead of creating the things that every guy needs, I am more focused on helping you create the concepts that every guy needs so that you can really start to cultivate what style means to you. Because as I've been saying for quite a while, style is more than just clothes. It's the way you walk, it's the way you talk, it's the way that you interact, it's the way that you live your life, it's what you aspire to and what you're inspired by. And so I want to make sure that you have just as many whys as you do how to's. Because for all of these how to's, it doesn't matter if you can wear 5 suits 5 different ways to create these numerous amounts of looks if you're not a suit and tie guy. But if you have an understanding of yourself, which is actually the first conversation, and you sticking to your script, then you're always going to show up in style and continue to evolve yourself as well as your style. So just know that one of the things that the attributes of my concept that you will hear me start to and begin to preach, right, with the sartorial gospel, as um, one of my late great uh, OGs, Dwayne Collins, used to say, this is how you are going to do so. So part of the reason why I love the concept of a script is because a script is something that you can follow over and over again, right? So if you ever think about anybody who has been in a play, or you've ever acted, or if you've just watched a TV show, you know that there is a script that these people follow. Now, if they follow that script, the content will be funny, it will be intriguing, it will be interactive on some level. And once they have an understanding of the script, the essence of the script, and how they want to utilize it, sometimes they may go off script to find something funnier. They may edit the script so that they can utilize it. But they're still following a trajectory and a storyline that will allow the story to progress. And we know that every man has a story. That story soon becomes history, or his story. And it all begins with our statement and style. And if we have a statement, then we can start to create a script, which will then lead to a narrative that helps people engage in our story. And so when we first start out with our script, and that's what the essence of 2025 is going to be a focus on, is helping you create a script for yourself and your style. We have to start out with yourself. So I'm actually working on a YouTube video that will be a little bit more concise with this conversation, but I wanted to get your feedback on whether it resonates with you. So by all means, leave some comments if it is. That's always appreciated. um, but I want you to think about yourself. And a lot of guys don't think about themselves. This year, I want you to commit to, which is coming up as well, being the most authentic version of yourself, right? I want you to hang out in the places that you really find an interest in. I want you to really start showing up with the things and doing and being the person that you actually are. I was listening to Chris Doe earlier, and if you don't know who Chris Doe is, he has a podcast called The Future, FUTUR, and he was talking about how we lose our authenticity because in modern day society, you hear people saying like, be authentic, be authentic. It's all about authenticity. It's all about being it real, keeping it real. But we are not conditioned to believe that, right? Because the minute that you're doing something that is not status quo, or is not following what everybody else's basic normal behavior is, they will try to medicate you. They'll try to put you in special ed. They will ostracize you and call you weird and all these other different types of things. But in truth, those could be the things that actually help you promote your purpose. Those things could be the thing that separates you, especially in a society today where any and everything can put you in a position for prosperity, for promotion, and for pop culture, right? For public consumption. There was about 5 years ago, and I don't know if it's still a thing, but she may have had a year run. This lady who was allegedly crocheting car covers. Now I don't know if this was real or not because I didn't really do deep dives on it. I just thought it was cool. But if it's true, there's a lady who was crocheting car covers. Right? They serve no purpose. They probably could actually do some damage to your car because now you have holes where sunlight could be affecting your paint. But she was selling these. Now I don't know how many she sold. I don't know how much money she made. But if that's true, there was an opportunity for something that she enjoyed to be leveraged for consumption, whether that was financial gain or just for notoriety. So, in today's society, more than ever, it's vital that you are yourself and that you have an understanding of yourself. One of the first things that we talked about on the YouTube video that will be dropping is just understanding your scale. But I also want you to think about what your standards are. I want you to think about what your true style is, right? Have an understanding of what you want to be and who you want to be when you're stepping out. So, for instance, if we're talking about style, understanding yourself, or for me personally, I'm not going to be a super business tutorial guy. That's just not my thing. I want something with sensuality. I want something with color, flair, some romance in it. And so it's important for me to have those different types of elements because I know that that's who I am. There were going to be certain restrictions in how I was going to move in different situations. It was going to be much more difficult for me to be a lawyer or a doctor or engineer in spaces that are over in these spaces where they require you to be overly analytical because I just don't process information like that. I don't think in those terms specifically. I can be analytical, but moreover, it is much more poetic. It is much more creative in its expression. Telemon says, with the YouTube video, will you have archetypes that people can identify with? That is working. That's coming in 2025. I will actually next week we'll talk about what to expect on YouTube because I'm going all in on YouTube next year. So my focus will be on YouTube. You'll still get the lives here. You may not see as much posting on Instagram, Facebook maybe, but Instagram has just kind of lost its allure for me. And with YouTube doing a lot of its community engagement, I think I'm leaning more over there. But you'll still catch lives and some postings every now and then. But yes, there will be archetypes on there. So when you can start being yourself, you start to even find what your interests are. Like me leaning more towards YouTube. Like my interest was not so much Instagram, it was helping provide information. And part of the reason why I left or I'm moving away from Instagram more is because I don't want to be an influencer. I don't want to try to push something that is not really true to me. All right, bro. Merry Christmas to you. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Hanukkah. All those great things to you as we move towards the holiday season. But that wasn't really my thing. I wanted to continue to be able to educate you guys without having to worry about my latest fit or if I had another new jacket that I could promote or any of those other different types of things. I wanted to make sure that I was providing info to you. So you have yourself that you have to pay attention to. I'm gonna run through these other five elements quickly because I have to hop on a call in about 10 minutes. So I apologize. If you want more, let me know in the comments on the replay so that I can really do a deeper dive on another live for this when I got a little bit more time. So you have that, you have yourself. Then I want you to think about your consistencies, right? What are you consistently drawn to? What are you consistently looking for in your closet? And how is that shaping who you are or your character? Because a lot of guys are finding themselves being inconsistent and then that creates disconnection because they're inauthentic, right? But if you can really start being who you are and representing yourself in that best version, then you're always going to show up as that best version of yourself because you know who you are, right? You're being yourself on a consistent basis. So the more consistent you can be, the more confident you're going to be, and the more connected you're going to be, because people are going to say, "Yo, that's a real dude, right? Hey, man, he always keeps it real. He doesn't really ever put any fluff on there. And you ain't got to be a tough guy. You don't have to try to be cool. You will be cool, right?" The next thing that you want to start thinking about is reflecting on your rotation, the rotation of the places that you go hang out, the people that you find yourself hanging around, revolving around, rotating around, and also just reflecting on the rotation of your wardrobe. Is it reflecting who you want it to be? Because a reflection is two things. A reflection is going to be the inversion of yourself. So it is going to be how you are being perceived in uh, a another perspective in the sense that if I'm reflecting sensuality, through texture and through color, that reflection is going to elicit a reaction. Whether it's, yo, I really love how there's this undertone of romance and how he's putting his looks together. It's not super stuffy, it's not super formal. There's something playful about it, almost like it's a dance. Or it could be like, yo, that dude is sus. That dude is doing too much. That dude is trying too hard to get attention. It's almost feminine, right? You have to be able to navigate those expressive waters of being misunderstood, right? If you look at somebody like Prince, there's numerous times we were definitely questioning whether Prince was going to be on that rainbow spectrum, right? We just didn't know if he was going to, or would have lived a little bit longer if he would come out as something else. Now, from the stories that I've heard and the people that knew him, like when I'm listening to interviews, that was far from the case. But that doesn't mean that he wasn't questioned or he wasn't misunderstood, right? And so in those spaces, you have to be ready to not be understood by everybody, whether that is culturally, whether that is artistically, whether that is professionally, right? Even in some of the innovative things that you may be coming up with, people may not necessarily understand it or respect it in the beginning. But if you are consistent with it, they have no choice but to respect it over time. And it's interesting when you reflect on what you want to rotate and what you want to keep yourself around, right? That does elicit a certain level of respect. And this is something that I've had to learn in my manhood as a grown man. Everybody's not going to like you, and everybody doesn't need to like you, but they do need to respect you. They do need to have to honor your boundaries and honor your perspective because there is a reason to, because you are showing competency in what it is that you are projecting. So then from there, once you can have the reflection of what you're going to revolve around so that it creates respect, then you can start to identify what you want your image to be. Now, a lot of guys don't think about the fact that your image is a reflection of your state of mind. Are you in a state of mind that says, yo, I'm going to set a high standard for myself. I'm going to make sure that I'm always presentable. I'm going to make sure that when I step out, I'm looking my best, even if it's to go work out or to go hang out and we're just going to go watch the game at somebody else's house. Am I going to make sure that I am identifying how I am interacting with other people in a respectful way, in a confident way, and in a attentive way, right? When you start to think about all those different types of elements, then you start to identify the type of person that you want to be. Because yes, your image is the most direct look, right? It's the thing that does speak before you. But it's interesting when your image is out of alignment with who you say you are, it throws people off and it actually creates distrust. I remember when I was uh, talking to this young lady back in my early 20s, I was dressed and I was writing all this poetic stuff on Facebook. And this was before you put up videos and stuff. This is when Facebook is really just starting to come out. And she was like, when I talked to her, she was like, "Oh, you don't speak the way that I thought you were going to speak." And it actually kind of turned her off. She was like, "Yo, I thought he was going to be a smooth, suave gentleman." And I had some smoothness to me, a little suave, but I was definitely more robust and more brutish with my conversation, right? I was a little bit more rugged with my conversation. And so it was incongruent, right? But when you are identifying your image and that is in integrity, that actually will create intrigue, right? And this is another reason why we're going to be sticking to our script this year. So the next thing that you have to think about is how you are going to present your persona and your personality. So in both situations, your persona is going to be kind of your elevator. It's going to be the thing that you can turn on if you need to be a little bit more magnanimous, right? You need to really step out and put that shit on, right? You need to be that guy. And it's you, but it's the elevated version of yourself. I always tell guys you need to be a superhero. So you can't just be Superman all the time. You still got to be Clark Kent sometimes, or you can't be Batman all the time. You got to be Bruce Wayne, right? But there do need to be times where you can show up as that elevated person because those people need to see that. They need to experience that. And you should be the hero of your story. So I really want you to start thinking about how you can plan um, for those elements. So Coach says Stefan versus Steve. If you don't, y'all know which show that's from, right? Y'all know what show that's from. So yeah, sometimes you still were Steve, right? Steve was still smart, brilliant, and he got the girl. But Stefan was the chick that every was the dude that every chick was really checking for. And I never really figured out, but they could have made a dope setup where Stefan married Laura and Steve married Myra, who I liked. Was it Myra? I think it was Myra. And then they could have got married, which I thought would have been a much better play. Like he really realized that Myra really rocks with him. Laura was kind of shading him until she realized she was going to lose him, and then it fell apart. Anyway, and then the last element is to start tailoring your trustworthiness, right? So I gave a different tip, pause, for the YouTube video, but I really want you to start tailoring your trustworthiness when it comes to trusting yourself, when it comes to trusting the people that you are listening and subscribing to. Do they really align with your perspective? Do they align with your values? And are they eliciting the type of expression that you want to have, or are they just saying some shit and people are buying into it because they have a following, or because there's one element of their perspective that makes sense, but the other aspects are bullshit? And we saw that this year, right? We saw that with guys like Andrew Tate. We saw that with um, guys like Kevin Samuels. God bless the dead, right? These guys are saying some stuff, and I started to realize very early on, I don't align with most of these values. I don't align with these perspectives. I don't even believe in a lot of what they're saying, even though it has some logical relevancy, right? There are bigger conversations that we need to have around these concepts. And I've said, and I will continue to say, be careful about who you follow. They are leading you somewhere. And you never know how much a subscription could actually cost you if you're not paying attention to what is relevant to you, right? So tailor your trust for taking what works for you. As Kevin Samuels used to say, take the meat, spit out the bones, right? So if this is appealing to you, take that and then discard everything else. But if that's the case, I'm not going to really listen to you long term or heavily because that doesn't benefit me. But start to trust those elements, even when it comes to style. No shade to my man Steve Harvey. I respect him. I admire him for a lot of stuff that he has done with his career, and there's a lot of things that he can give insights on. Style is not one of them, right? Even though he looks great some of the time, he's put on some dope outfits and he's promoted himself amazingly as a style type of guy. He's not somebody that I would look to for style advice. He is a fashionable guy who seems to be finding his own style. And that's actually something we're going to be talking about in the future as well. Not just him, but with the difference between fashion and style, and whether guys have style and whether they are on script or off script. So I really want you to try these things on and to trust, to tailor your trust even for trying things on, right? Don't just trust what I'm saying. Try them on and see if they're applicable to your life. And if they are, keep utilizing them. Share them with somebody, um, because you'll find the benefit there. Chef Cole said, "You're more of a Montel guy." Uh, Montel was all right. I mean, Montel couldn't dress either. Montel definitely couldn't dress. In the '90s, I don't know who I would have really been. I was a Ricky Lake, Jenny Jones guy, Jerry Springer guy. Unfortunately, sadly, I watched a lot of those in my early teens and early 20s. Just trash television. On that side, I'm a Bruce Boyer guy. I'm a Glenn O'Brien guy, Alan Flusser guy. In a lot of those spaces. No talk show. I don't think there's a lot of a Bryant Gumbel guy as far as style was concerned. And Brashear, what was my man on ABC Nightly News? Y'all want to talk about a dude who could dress? If you were just like a sartorial guy, you just want to look like professional and clean. I think his name was Martin Brashear. I want to say that was his name. Before he got caught up, he ended up getting caught up in a scandal. Um, Dope dude. Anywho, I got to get out of here. But I just wanted to give you this quick dose of sticking to your script because that is something that we will be focusing on. Not Peter Jennings. His name is Martin Brashear. I think he was on ABC Nightly News or whatever comes on after your local news. It would be late night. He was I believe he was Indian fly dresser. Um, so yes, I want you to try this on. And again, come the new year, we will be focusing more of our attention on YouTube just because I can have longer form conversations and I can really help, I hope, guide a lot of you guys to being better versions of yourself and being better stylish versions of yourself. And as I've said on the channel, it will be personal development through personal presentation. So I hope you'll join me there. If you're not following me, you can go to a dressing room or a dressing room style architects, or you can DM me and I'll send you the link. I do have a video that I posted last week that you can check out, or maybe 2 weeks ago. Please go support that. Now, outside of that, be great today. But then again, you already are. So now all you have to do is show up and show out in style, remembering that dress is nothing more than the expression of a man's state of mind. So yes, you should always dress to address your life and your style. Sticking to your script. We'll see you next week. All right. Peace.